All right, so what I'm doing right now, that thing that I'm doing is I'm recording. That way you guys don't have to worry about it. When you guys send me the email, I'll send you this thing too. All right, so what are we going to do for sharpening standpoint? We've already done the first one. The first one was you take original layer, you take a second layer. Those layers were done through virtual copies down here. We brought them up here, and then we just did a mask using Nik Sharpener Pro as an adjustment. So I'm just giving you a 10-second review. So there's the Sharpener Pro adjustment. There's this. We took these two layers and we merged them into this new layer by doing a Command-Option-Shift-E. That gave us that copy now. So this copy is the new copy that we start with as a foundation copy. How do we take that and do more sharpening? First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Command or Control-J to make a duplicate copy of that layer. Once I have that done, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Other. And under Other, I'm going to go to High Pass. High Pass is going to take this entire thing, and you'll see that you have a radius slider of about 0.1, and everything will look completely gray. It is as if you took all of the details of the pictures and you mushed them down into a plate. And you're looking at it like this, right? Like you're looking at the picture tilted down away from you, 90 degrees. Now, as you do that, you can grab the radius slider and move the radius slider all the way up to the right until you start seeing the very edges of the picture. If you start seeing the edges of the picture, notice you can see the edges of the picture right there. See? A little more edge, a little more edge. Now we see all the little edges of the picture. Once you see the edges of the picture, you click OK. Now, I'm going to go over to my blend mode here and set it from normal and switch it to soft light. Come back over here and watch. Before, after. Before, after. Before, after. It's basically taking all of the information that you had inside of this. If I move this to normal, this gray area, all of the gray that you see inside of that picture, when you set the blend mode to soft light, it basically cancels out. And all that's left is accenting inside of the edges of the picture. By accenting the very edges, it's almost kind of like an edge sharpening. It's a good sharpening technique. Now, like before, we don't necessarily want that across everything in the picture. So if you do see it in an area of the picture that you don't want it, take that mask and hide it. Instead of making the mask by clicking on this icon, making it white and doing a Command or Control I, you could technically just hold down the Alt or Option key and then click on the mask. It makes the mask and hides it at the same time. Now, with a brush, with a color of white, with low flow, you can go back in and paint in the individual sections that you want for that sharpening. Good? Let's try one more. The other one that's probably the easiest for you to use, let's make a duplicate of this. And I'm going to go to Filter, Other, or Filter, Sharpen, and you can go ahead and use Smart Sharpen. Inside of here, it's really hard for you to see what you want to sharpen or the quality of the sharpening that's here. But you could take this exact same picture that sits on this side and zoom in here as well. Rather than using this as a preview, use this as a preview. If you can get this to 100%, then you're going to have a good idea of what that sharpening looks like. Command or Control Spacebar will zoom in and out to get you to that 100%, and Spacebar by itself, while you hold it down, will let you move around and check how well you can sharpen the picture. Then you would use your amount and radius as you see fit. to get the sharpness that you want. The two biggest things that people, I think, get tripped up with in making prints is sharpening. The second thing is color output, the brightness or the darkness of the print itself. Yes?
Why would you use the sharpening tool instead of
Why would I use what?
the sharpening tool instead of
Oh, why wouldn't I use this one, sharpen? Oh, right here, this one. You could. It's not, for me, it's not the best tool. It's just I'm not a big fan of the use of the tool. Okay, so you're talking about the sharpening tool here. Right. I don't like using that. I don't think it produces a really good result. But you could technically do that. Like you could make a copy of it, then come back over here and use the sharpening tool. The tool is right here. Right? So there's blur, there's sharpen. You grab this sharpen tool, and then the sharpen tool only really has a strength slider. Like there's no radius, there's no amount that you can kind of detail. You can do a blend mode for it, but that's pretty much it. Right? There's not as many options that you would have. And I think that the result that you get out of a filter-based tool like Sharpener Pro does a little bit of a better job. But totally viable. Nothing wrong with it.
Once you've done this level of sharpening in Photoshop, then you go back, take it back to Lightroom. Through Lightroom, you can either print or export. And in the export part, there is a section that says export for.
Okay, yeah, so the question is here, once you do all of this printing, then in Lightroom, there's a section for export. Yes, there is, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But is everybody okay on the sharpening portion of it? Yes, sir. Well, for me, I try to do all of the sharpening that I can inside of Photoshop. I think, right, beginning, middle, and end, right? So right now we did the beginning with the output sharpener, with the raw pre-sharpener. Sometimes that same pre-sharpener is the sharpener that I would use for creative sharpening. When I say creative sharpening, like there's no other real esoteric way to be able to do it. It's just sharpening that's local to specific areas. That's all creative sharpening is, right? You sharpen some stuff, you don't sharpen some stuff, right? Now, within that, there is also still the output sharpen, which I would still do inside of here. Yes? What was that? Yes? They're just different techniques. You can use either one. Yes? The question is whether or not you sharpen, then resize, or resize, then sharpen. I sharpen, then resize. Now, from here, so once our sharpening is generally done, we've assumed that we've done a couple of different techniques, right? If I wanted to sharpen this again, because I wanted to, like the focal point was this, nothing would prevent me from going back over here, going into whichever tool, the sharpen tool, a plug-in tool, smart sharpen, all of the different techniques to bring in more emphasis. Like I've run raw pre-sharpener 4 times, 5 times. I'm like, I really want to bring this sharpening of detail is for just this one building because I want this building to stand out. I would mask everything out here and then just bring in that one individual piece of information that's there. That sharpening would just be for that one individual spot. That's that creative sharpening that we're talking about. Once all of that stuff is done, I would do another merge up. That's the copy. That is the sum of all of those layers that we have beneath it. Now, once we have that done, We then have to go into the third portion of sharpening that is called output sharpening. Now, output sharpening, let's go ahead and turn the lights on real quick. Output sharpening takes into account different paper types. Right? Like, we're passing around a couple of different paper types. This is a traditional photo paper. This is a velvet fine art paper. You'll notice that the fine art papers that you have, they all have a different feel to them. This is my favorite paper, hot press bright. And this is my other favorite paper, cold press bright. And this, no, they're okay, but there's no exhibition fiber. Was that exhibition fiber? No exhibition fiber? Are you kidding me? No, there's got to be. Hold up. Oh, wait. This is a whole bunch of different. This is proofing paper, ultra smooth fine art. This is okay. It's a decent paper. Now, this is what's going to happen when you go premium plus. This is okay. One of the things that you're going to notice are feel this way. Actually, you don't have to feel it up. Right? It's a nice paper, premium plus paper. Has a soft sheen to it, which I think is nice. These are matte papers. You'll notice that these papers, cold press and hot press, right, pressure here. This is cold press. This is cold press and hot press. The difference between cold press and hot press is one is, the other one is. If you look at cold press tends to have a little bit of texture. Hot press is very smooth in texture, but they're all matte papers. I am a paper junkie. I love different types of paper. Different types of paper, different types of paper. You know how people play with like plugins and special effects and all sorts of different things? When you start printing, it's like you will go off the deep end with different types of paper that you can do with your printer. And all of them have a different sensibility. People go like, oh, you should print this, these types of images with this type of paper, or these types of images with this type of paper. I'm like, there's no right or wrong for us. It's like wine. You know, you can be like, oh, you start right on the page, and I'm like, look, sometimes everyone can do this. It's just a combination. But you will have the silver soap, Kansas, Coffee, Red River, Moa. You know, big combination. I love Moa. So how there's a whole other thing. I wish I had some activated. Like there's Convo, it's a thing called a little turn, which is a 310 G spread. It's a thick paper. And when you put it, like, when you feel it, when you grab it, there's a big one in it. So when you play it, when you feel it, it has a certain amount of weight. How much translates to those papers are very, very specific. The weight of that is very specific. And it has, can all printers print on those types of papers? For the most part, yes. What will happen is you can either feed it to the top, or sometimes they'll have an option instead of here, they'll have front feed it or back feed it. These have to be moved to be very for the shape. But this becomes a tool in your arsenal to sell stuff. I am very clear about the fact that if I make a print and sell it, I want to sell it for $5. You sell it for $5, I sell it for $5. And people are like, well, how do you kind of measure that level of price? Price is a psychological thing. It's completely psychological. Right? So when when somebody gets it, like I'm obsessive about making print. I'll sit there and I'll work every meeting later. Gosh, every motion we do, I'll run it through the paper. I'll get it, the best thing that I think that's gonna work for it. I bring it, I sign it with a paper. You put it in the corner, you name it, you should do it. Don't run a game like you go, oh, this is a 120, but it's only 120 this size. This size is 120. This size is 175. Like, it's very limited. This is what you get. This is a little detail. Advertising, give somebody a card with this, thank you very much, number in the back. And when people open it, they grab it, hold it in their hand, hold that magnet. Yeah, this is really good. I don't need a machine on it, but the weight on it is really nice. It's very substantial. And people are like, well, why would you put so much energy into something that you just put on the wall, in the frame? And it's like, because of the interaction that you have with that art, first off, this is the final, this should be the final result of this, of all your images. To start. When we put that on this, when somebody gets it, they hold it out, they hold it, and they feel with it, and they look at the colors, and they look at the details of it, it's that, those seconds that they have there that validate how much money is spent on that. They're like, wow, this is massive work. And then it goes on the wall. But when it goes on the wall, it's a memory of when they held it in their hand. That's how it's very important. I think it's wild that we spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours and thousands of resources in our pictures to be able to we do all this stuff and we're like, got the best camera, got the best lens, the best workshop, did all of the best stuff, I hit a button and took pictures, and the pictures are, you know, wait, the pictures right here. It's done. I hit a button, and the picture that I just did, that's $1,000 right here. I hit a button, and it's gonna do it. It's on my page, it's on this, it's on this, it's on this, it's on that. It's pure democracy. Right? Everywhere when you hit a button. And that picture is done this fast. All of that effort is spent. All of that's going to be done. And we're participating on everything is done really quick.
Just recommend not to put
So, is the recommendation not to do you guys work? You should do your work. But I'm saying, if you want to have a connection with your work, print it. Put it on the wall. Share it. Matter of fact, if you think of Instagram thing, right? Good evening, don't look back, good evening, do all that kind of stuff. You want to be in it? Put a picture of a print coming out. Put a picture of a group of artwork coming out of your just as on this print, and it ain't gonna fly. You'd be surprised how many people are like, oh snap, he's selling prints. He was an artist. Because no one else takes that care to make it. It's not so much not art. Everyone knows on the truth. It's not that art. It's easy. Well, different types of paper, different types of material, different types of matter, means that it is different types of sharp. Right? When you work with a piece of paper that is gloss, it's going to need a certain amount of sharpening. You can see it. That same amount of paper is going to need a certain amount of sharpening to see it appear. That same picture, if you're using canvas, is going to need a different amount of sharpening. Over here. That same paper, if you use canvas, is going to need a different amount of sharpening. This is the wall. So the distance and the medium will dictate how much sharpening you're going to actually need in order for you to be able to fix it good.
how can you make it
So the question becomes, how do you become a good judge of what it is that you do or don't? How much do you put it? How much do you How much do you add to it? How much do you remove to it? That's where output sharpening comes in. That's that third level. Sharpening for the media and for the distance and for all of that kind of stuff. So, behold my formula. I'm going to go to filter, Nick collection, output sharpener. Inside of here, oh, where do you want to sharpen? Is display? Okay, I'll just give you a regular slider. Oh, where do you want to do? Inkjet. Yeah, inkjet's pretty cool. What's the viewing distance? Oh, well, let's say it's about 1.2 to 2.5 meters away. What kind of paper do you want to do? Oh, I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a luster paper. What's the printer resolution? You would read that in the back of the box. 2880 by 1440 is usually your Stylus 600, Stylus 800, 13 to 17 inch printers. And we're done. That's it. This takes care of all of it for you. Can you do this on your own? Sure. Can you come up with some sort of black magic thing, formula to be able to do any of that kind of stuff? Sure. But if they do it, why would you? That's the other reason that I like these guys. And it's free. They've put a lot of effort into this. Once that's done, boop, click OK. Good? Now, brings me to the last thing that I want to talk about. I need to send this specific picture to that specific printer. And that specific printer has a capacity for printing with specific color. I need to be able to have this computer make sure that it shares the right color information with that one. The only analogy that I have that can kind of work with this is, imagine if I pulled 3 people here up on stage, and I told you, or 2 people, let's just say 2 people. And I pulled you up on stage and I said, I want you guys to make soup, right? And I said that the recipe for making soup is you need chicken stock, you need tomato juice, and you need pepper. It's the worst chicken soup on earth, I know. But just follow it. If one person showed up and said, okay, I have chicken stock concentrate, and you need 1 cup of chicken stock, 1 cup of tomato sauce, 1 cup of pepper. Terrible soup. And the one person had chicken stock concentrate, sun-dried tomato concentrate, and cayenne pepper, which is very hot. That person's soup would be very different from the person who bought watered down chicken stock, right, ketchup, and black pepper. If you kind of sort of wanted, like if you were trying to make the same soup, somebody would go, that's tomato soup concentrate. Instead of you using 2 cups, you're only going to be able to use this much. Here, if you want to be able to make the same soup, you got to take that, you're going to have to double the specific amount. Does everybody kind of get the analogy here? 2 people having the exact same thing doesn't really mean that it's the exact same thing, because you don't know what the quality of that exact same thing is. Yes? We have to be able to measure what that quality of the exact same thing is. Once we measure it, then we need to be able to have something work as a translator between the 2. I know what you can do, I know what you can do, and when you give me your information, I'm going to translate that and bring it over to this. That translator is this guy, your calibrator, or a colorimeter. This is the data color spider.
Is that the same?
Base? What?
Is that the same as a color monkey?
Is this the same as Color Monkey? Yes. but this one works. Totally get it. And I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're fine. Right? So all we're doing here is we're grabbing this and we say, I need to be able to work. And color monkey, data color, like all of these, if you have an earlier version of Spider, they pretty much all do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with either one of them, but they do the same thing. What they're going to do is, you're going to pop this thing open, you run a piece of software on this, where this dangles on here for like 5 minutes, churn, 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 churn. I'll send you the video, don't worry about it. And it does it, and it calibrates it, and it says this is the baseline for what your monitor can do. Not only is it the baseline for what your monitor can do here, it's the baseline against what your ambient environment looks like, age of monitor, all of that stuff factors in for the calculation of that baseline. That baseline is then produced into something called a profile. So it is a menu that your computer now knows of what it is capable of doing. Are you okay with that? Now, if we know what the computer's capable of doing, now we need to know what the printer is capable of doing. And we need to be able to translate that in the middle. You give me this is how I do this. You give me this is how I do this. Where's my good paper? Premium roasted. What size is this? Anybody? A3? Okay. Good. So all we gotta do is translate it. That translation comes through from something called an ICC profile, International Color Custodian Profile. Anytime that you download a driver, it will download something called an ICC profile for your printer and your paper. So ICC profiles are very specific. They're specific to the printer, they're specific to the paper. Now, if, for example, if I wanted to run a William Turner, I got a pack of William Turner paper, and I want to use my 600 to do that. I would then have to take the ICC profile for this individual printer. Now, how would I do that? I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to the Hahnemühle website. Inside of the Hahnemühle website, and every website has the exact same thing. Inside of the Hahnemühle website, you'll see a section over here called ICC Profile. You click on this, and inside of here, there's the download center. Inside of there, what's the manufacturer? Oh, it's an Epson. What's the printer? There's the SureColor P600. What's the paper group? Matte Fight Art Texture. There's my William Turner. I click on that, and then I download. Inside of here, you'll see this file. There's the color file, and here's instructions. If you look at the English instructions, it tells you when you set your printer, make sure that you set it for velvet fine art paper and turn off color management. Velvet fine art paper, turn off color management. So it gives you these instructions. I would then take this profile, copy, and I would go to a specific area. On your Mac, it's Library. Under Library, you would go to Color Sync. In Color Sync, you would go to Profiles. And you drop it in there. I already have it in there. On Windows, it would be Windows System 32 Spool Color. Now, all of this stuff is in a video. Don't worry about having to remember all of it. Just know that this is something that you need to do. Once you have that done, I'm going to save this file. I'm going to close this file. And this is the file that I'm going to work. My computer now knows what it is capable of doing from producing because I'm running on a profile. From here, what I want to do is I want to take that information and I want to translate it to the print. Matter of fact, that's not really one that I want to print. Let's say that I want to print this one again. Right? So I want to print this. I'm going to go to the print menu. In the print menu, the first thing that we need to do is we need to tell it, what page are we using? What's the paper that we're using? There's my printer. There's the page. Okay. Step 1. Step 2. As soon as I get all of that stuff done, you go over here where it says Color Management. Under Color Management, it says Profile. You click on this, and if you do not see the most recently used profile for your paper that you're looking for, you click on Other. You will see a giant list of all of the paper's profiles that you've installed in your machine. In this instance, all you have to do is find the one that's for your printer. There's the Hahnemühle Fine Art Canon Pro 1000 Matte Black William Turner. Fine Art Baryta Satin, Fine Art Baryta, so this is matte black, photo black. Obviously, those are not for this printer. But inside of here, SP600. So I didn't have to install any of these because these came with the driver for the printer. So in this case, which one am I looking for? I'm looking for a premium luster paper. Right there. Once I do that, click OK. Inside of here, we've set this. Once we've done that, the other thing that I would do here, step 3, would be go to your print settings. And inside of your print settings, you need to set a couple of specific things. Under the printer settings, remember that under the instructions where it turned around and said, when you use this paper, when we're using William Turner, it said use fine art, velvet, fine art something. This is where you would set this for the sheet feeder. Obviously, we're not using William Turner or velvet fine art stuff, so it's not available. We're not using matte black ink. We're using photo black. In this case, it's luster paper, so I'm going to go to photo paper, and there's your luster paper. And you just have to tell it which one of the sheet feeders you're going to use. That's it. Every now and again, if you're out of calibration, what happens is a lot of the times when you use your spider or you do any kind of calibration, the first thing that they tell you is turn your monitor dim really, really low. Your monitor brightness, make it low, 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 low. Perfect, now you're calibrated. And you calibrate. And you're like, this is perfect, this looks awesome. Your monitor is super dim. Congratulations, you're gonna give yourself a headache in like 2 days. And after 3 days of working on this, you're like, this sucks. I have to do Facebook, I have to get on email, I have to do all of these other things. I do not have the time to have a monitor this dim. So what happens is you go to your brightness and you go bling, 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 and you make your brightness 100 again. Then you send the print. What was the print calibrated for? A monitor that was really dim. What did you do halfway through the process? Make it really bright. Now you're making exposure adjustments and contrast adjustments and sharpness adjustments on a bright monitor with something that's calibrated really low. So what do your prints look like? Dark. That frustrates people so much, but people don't want to switch back and forth, that Adobe just caved and said, listen, I'm just going to give you guys a button over here called print adjustment. Click on it. If your prints are too bright or too dark, grab the brightness or contrast slider and move it over. It's not going to change anything here, but when we spit it out, it'll be brighter. It makes people in color management circles spin. Their heads pop off when they saw that, because it violates everything about color management. Once that's done, how do you judge how bright? You can't. That's the dumbest thing. I usually keep it between 15 and 25. Once that's done, hit print. In a couple seconds, it spits out a print. But the process is not that hard. It just requires that you follow that you're a little bit more that you are methodical about doing that process. If you guys want to see more of this information, make sure that you let me know. Send an email over to the address that I've sent you. I'll send you guys some resources and videos, especially some videos from the folks at Data Color. That way you guys can have a really, really good idea of how to be able to use it from start to finish. Thank you very much, everybody.